legendary Evel Knievel said no man would ever jump over 300 feet on a motorcycle. 15 years later, and in 1999, Californian maniac Seth Enslow led the charge to prove Evel wrong. But relatively inexperienced, he flat-landed at 251 feet, suffering horrendous injuries, needing to have a titanium plate inserted into his head. In 2005, long-distance jumping was brought back to life in Queensland, Australia at the Crusty Night of World Records. The bar was set at 278 feet by veteran Crusty demon Trigger Gum. It seemed Evel Knievel's prediction was right. 300 feet is near impossible. 2 years later, and only weeks after the death of the great pioneer Evel Knievel, Australian Robbie Madison breaks the world record and jumps 322 feet 7 inches on New Year's Eve in Las Vegas, Nevada. He dedicates his jump to the late hero, Knievel. Melbourne, Australia, 2008. And the Crusty Demons have created the most spectacular and death-defying event in extreme sports history. 3 riders will go head-to-head in a life-risking, long-distance motorcycle jump-off in front of 30,000 screaming fans. With intense egos and possibly catastrophic consequences involved, some basic rules are set to keep the riders in check. Jumping first is Seth Enslow, a pioneer of the resurgence of long-distance jumping and a 14-year Crusty Demon legend. His lifelong goal has been to break 300 feet. Robbie Madison will jump second. His sense of pride and his fearless attitude means he will stop at nothing to retain his title. Ryan Capes is a student of the sport. He's precise and super professional.
Jump off is dangerous, no matter how you play it.
We brought the world's best jumpers to jump as far as I can go and see who's got the biggest balls.
I got a lot on my mind to do my own jump, but at the same time I got to worry about these knuckleheads trying to kill each other.
Welcome to the Crusty Demons Night of World Records, presented by Rockstar Energy Drink.
We could jump off until somebody gets hurt or dies, or we could push it back till, we can't go any further.
Seth Enslow, California, USA, one of the original Crusty Demons.
Yeah, it was 1998 that I started doing distance jumps and using a ramp, a takeoff ramp, and building a dirt landing and doing jumps in parking lots of freestyle shows.
As a pioneer of the sport, that was the guy.
Seth's longtime supporter and best friend Bubba has been at Seth's side throughout his whole career.
Here we are 14, 15 years later, and he's still jumping a dirt bike for a living. Pretty cool.
It feels good to be back on the bike and doing some big jumps again and have this opportunity to be in this show and get the chance to jump 300 feet.
Ryan Capes is the newcomer to the group, with this being his first Crusty Demons event. The first rider to go 300 feet, Capes is primed to take back the record.
I sort of niched with distance jumping and was the guy in the 2000s that sort of took it to the next level.
Ryan Capes is, he's grown up a lot since I first met him, from just being a kid hitting ramps and wanting to try these distance jumps to, being on his second or third ramp design and having crossed the 300-foot mark before the rest of us.
A little bit of watching Seth and watching Robbie Knievel jump the Grand Canyon was awesome. I remember telling my dad, I'd never do that. And now it's I'd jump the Grand Canyon in a heartbeat. The majority of us distance jumpers just want to push the envelope and go further and further, and that's what we love the most. I don't think I'd be out here risking my life if I didn't love doing what I do.
Ryan Capes and Robbie Madison and they got the desire, they got the young, they got the juice in them.
Matto's going back to his hometown, and he's got Australian pride, and he's gonna, get the record in Australia. But he's got another thing coming, because I'm an American. I got American pride, and what better is it gonna be to take Matto on his home turf and bring it back to the United States?
In his first attempt at distance jumping in the 2005 Crusty Night of World Records, Robbie set a new world record for the longest jump with a trick at a massive 246 feet. 2 years on, the sport has progressed, the ramps have changed, the bikes have been modified, and no one would have thought he'd now hold the record at 322 feet 7 inches.
Robbie Madison is a great rider, and he's nuts to back it up.
So I'm just going to jump my bike as far as it can go and see what happens.
Having moved from Australia to train in California, Robbie has been focusing heavily on his distance jumping career, culminating in his record-breaking jump in Las Vegas, which brought him Evel Knievel type exposure.
I'm probably doing 150 kilometers an hour and just tucked down, screaming at this ramp and blowing straight past it, and just heart just going. I'm just thinking, oh no, I just got to turn and hit this thing. I know that's the speed, and you can't even really gauge it. The distance, your speed's way too great, and you're hitting that ramp, and the ramp just looked like a wall by that stage. And then I rode back and said a little prayer and thought about the family at home. It was kind of like a real touchy feeling for me, because I was just like, this is everything I'd ever worked towards, and this was just the next part of the story. So I just signed off, turned the brain off, and just went, all right, it's 5th gear pen. I gave him the thumbs up and just started pinning gears and just coming into this thing going, I can't believe I'm about to shut up, I can't believe I'm about to shut up. And that was the best feeling I'd ever had, to come back after a week and just sail that far again, and to look at the jump and have such a mind game to tell myself that it was too gnarly, and then just to sack up and hit it was insane. I got my home crowd here, I got my family, I got a lot of people here who want to see it happen, and if I think that it's safe enough to jump, I'll jump. It's not about whose turf we're on, it's about the record right now, and the promoter's putting on a jump, bringing the gnarliest guys in to see who can jump the furthest, and that's what I'm going to give the crowd. I'm going to show them how far I can jump.
4 days out from the most spectacular event in extreme sports history, and preparations are well underway. The multi-million-dollar setup, including huge stages, lighting rigs, and a massive sound system, is transforming the venue into a coliseum. Its centerpiece, 30,000 tons of dirt, shaped into a 30-foot high, 125-foot long, and 60-foot wide landing ramp.
When you get to those speeds, like that pile of dirt just seems to go by quick.
Better safer than sorry. Big landings are definitely good, so I'm just stoked on it.
The Crusty Demons ramp technicians are precisely assembling the steel-framed launch ramps. Having practiced together in the United States, Seth will use the ramp designed by Capes, whilst Robbie will use his own ramp, developed after his Vegas jump.
His ramp was different at the Red Bull experiment, and now it's a little flatter, so he's going to have to be going faster to get the same distances that he was getting. So I think it'll be an eye-opener for him.
The 3 determining factors for getting distance from your ramp are the angle of takeoff, the gradient of the ramp, and the speed at which the rider hits it.
The angle that they've got is actually a really good angle, but they've got a continuous radius, so it's rolled all the way through, whereas in the last 4 feet of mine is actually flat. So I'll come in, I'll be a little bit less compression, and they'll shoot me further forward, whereas they'll compress a little bit more, and with that continuous radius, it's just going to lift them up.
The difference in approach is obvious. Ryan has a scientific approach. Robbie's is all about speed, intuition, and natural ability.
At this point in the game, going for a record, it's all about speed. So I don't know how else he's going to jump further than me if he's not using speed.
The riders are at Melbourne Raceway 4 days before the event to prepare for the jump-off. At these distances, everything must be tried and tested. Physical and psychological preparation is crucial.
Everyone's pretty cool. It's been a long time coming, so they just want to get out there and just get some practice out right now. Because, I mean, they're going to be going back twice as far by Saturday night.
Seth's ramp gap is set at 160 feet. The gap refers to the distance between the end of the takeoff ramp and the beginning of the sweet spot on the landing ramp. There is a 20-foot safety zone built into the top of the landing, but coming up short could have catastrophic results.
I think that the whole thing should be scooted over to the edge of the asphalt right here. It's too far over to the right side, so we're just trying to get it centered out. It's sort of critical because in the wind you don't want it to one side or the other, because then there's a possibility of landing off the landing.
Capes uses a speedometer and calculates everything in minute detail. Robbie relies on natural talent and his gut feeling. Some would say a dangerous approach in a sport where any mistake could be your last.
Yeah, that was 63. It needs to be at 96.
What I do, I look at the takeoff, I look at the landing, and as I come in, I kind of judge that speed, and I realise, yeah, I got my speed right. And you know, I jumped 330 feet without a radar.
Once I put my thumb, I just lock it in. You're ready to go. You gonna hit it?
After several speed checks, Seth is finally ready to hit the ramp for the first time. A new venue makes for different conditions, and each jump is a life-threatening experience.
Hey, can we get a measurement on that?
Just as Seth rides in for his second jump, an unexpected wind gust hits his bike, and on a huge 212-foot jump, he lands sideways and nearly loses control.
The first time I barely made it to the sweet spot. The second time, once you start falling down the backside, it starts blowing you.
On his second jump, a gust came and he landed like 5 feet from the edge. And could you imagine if it was a little gustier and he landed on the side of the pile? I mean, this is how dangerous it is. So you got to have optimal conditions, and if you don't, there's just no point.
I don't know, I think it's probably all right for now, but once we start jumping a little bit farther, we might want to pull out some more tranny.
Yeah, I think right now, definitely, but we're going to have to pull out another 20 to 40 feet of tranny.
Once we get up by 300 feet,
maybe even another 2 or 3 feet high, too.
I've over jumped enough landings. I want to think big as can be.
Hey, we want the landing bigger.
Tranny at the bottom of it.
Yeah, and the wind's up, so let's do it now.
Having provided the measurements for the landing ramp, Ryan now asks for more height and length to be added, meaning the riders lose the rest of the day's essential practice, and $20,000 is added to the cost of the ramp in the blink of an eye. The biggest storm front in 12 months hits Melbourne. Winds over 100 kilometers per hour, and more than 6 inches of rain falls in under 24 hours.
I'm going to sit out there till midnight if I have to, and I just want to get a jump in.
I think I'm mentally and physically prepared before I came here. I know my numbers. I've already jumped over 300 feet like 15 times, and I know it's just a matter of, getting 3 or 4 hours to push the ramp back of solid, me just jumping and pushing it back. I'll be good.
All I can do is hope for the best. I'm just thinking that it's going to be nice, like hoping and thinking. Like I'm not going to be negative on it. I'm going to have a positive outlook on it all the way till, an hour before we have to jump. But if it's too windy, it's too windy.
While they wait for the weather to pass, Seth and Ryan turn their attention to their bikes.
Yeah, I just don't think I need to go over 100 miles an hour. So I just changed the gearing so that it only goes like 95, 96 miles an hour, like as fast as it'll go.
Not only is it just having the fastest bike, it's also having the best suspension, because you don't want to go too stiff and you're not going to get the preload off the ramp. You're just going to ride off the ramp, but you don't want it to be too soft and sack out. So there's a happy medium, so suspension has a lot to do with it. Front wheel, it's going off once again. Going backward. We're just getting it done, getting it ready, and hopefully by the time I'm ready with the bike, the wind will die down. We'll start session 200 plus feet.
The weather closes in for the night. So Seth heads out to spend a bit of time on his other passion.
Want a donut, Bob?
Why am I holding the fuzzy squirrel?
I told Capes to call me if he's gonna hit the jump tonight, and if the wind died, and I don't get a phone call.
Never got a phone call.
I don't put the bikes together yet.
With only 2 days practice left, Seth remains the only rider to have hit the ramp. The weather has finally cleared, and the riders head out to get some long-awaited practice. The ramp is pushed back into 80 feet, so Bubba can get a chance to practice for his own record attempt.
I'm going for the Round Boy world record, and I'm going to jump a KTM 530, 100 feet, hopefully.
Seth takes a run at the gap to help his old friend gauge what speed to use.
Never hit a ramp like this, so I'm a little bit scared. So once I get a one under my belt or under my overalls, I'll be okay. I'm scared as hell. But I got the best people in the world to walk me through it. So it's kind of like, I'll probably hit it once and be so stoked and like, oh, this is easy. I'm hoping that's the feeling.
As the ramp is moved back, Robbie realizes the conditions are far from perfect.
It's cold, it's wet. I just tried to do some speed runs down the drag strip then, and when I hit the rubber, I was doing probably about 180 kilometers an hour. Then I hit the rubber and the whole bike just started sliding sideways. It's slippery, it's wet, it's horrible out here, but we're just gonna brave the elements, and when we get a chance to jump, we're gonna take it on.
Desperate for practice, Madison takes the opportunity to have a run at the ramp for the first time. Robbie sets the gap at 180 feet and lands well past the sweet spot, 244 feet on his first jump.
I just wasn't getting the speed I wanted out of the bike, so I shot it down to Cisco's race tuning, just turned a dud into a stud, and instead of doing 160 in top gear, it now does 160 in fourth gear. And quick fifth, and you go over 200 kilometers an hour.
Then, with his newly modified bike, he sets the gap at 200 feet and jumps a huge 277 feet, leaving Ryan Capes, who is yet to hit the ramp, to reconsider his strategy. Tensions run high as Robbie continues to apply the pressure on his competitors, moving the ramp back a further 20 feet and landing excruciatingly close to the magical 300-foot mark. Conditions continue to deteriorate, and with a tailwind strengthening to over 50 kilometers an hour, things start to get very dangerous. All riders are spoken to by the event promoters and warned about the wind speed and the dangers of jumping long distances in these conditions. Capes and Enslow make the sensible decision not to jump. Incredibly, Madison decides to go again, believing now is the chance for him to deliver a massive psychological blow to Ryan Capes. He pushes the ramp back to a 280-foot gap. Landing 60 feet past the sweet spot, Robbie unofficially breaks his own world record of 322 feet 7 inches by over 6 feet.
Crazy Australian went for it. I don't really want to practice in a tailwind just because you can jump further, at a slower speed. I'd rather know exactly what my speeds are going to be at dead calm.
The ramp gets pushed back again by another 20 feet. In these conditions, it's an extraordinary gap.
Still another 100 feet left in me. Woo! Bring it on! I'll call it quits there. I think I can chase that one for a little while. I'm still in fourth gear, so.
Robbie has added another 8 feet to his unofficial mark and continues his super high-risk psychological strategy. But is it working?
It's cool. I'll let him go out in it, and I'll go back out later and practice and smash his little distance number that he went today. So it's all good.
Robbie's been able to come out and smash the world record by over 20 feet. I mean, it's just, and he had 4 or 5 jumps to do it, and in a tiny window, and he set a phenomenal, incredible benchmark now.
As night falls, the wind drops, and Capes may finally get a chance to hit the ramp.
The main thing I wanted to do is practice under the lights because that's the type of atmosphere I'm going to be jumping under. The wind looks like it's dying down. We're going to get the wind meter and an angle finder and wait for Seth to get out here and we should be good.
12 Ks though.
Yeah, that's like
Ks, that's nothing.
I get impatient waiting around to jump. You know, I like to just jump and get it over with.
That orange box, that coats thing, I think those are all lights. See, there's one right there.
Can we pull one of those down here on this side over here? It's all the variables of a night jump. You know, I'm just not used to jumping at night. All the glares and just trying to work all the bugs out. It's tough, you know, but it seemed to have got it worked out, so now it's just about working the numbers.
Finally, after 2 days of waiting for the right moment, Capes begins his preparation. On Capes' first jump, the nighttime conditions prove difficult. Unable to spot his landing, he hits hard, at a distance of 256 feet. Eager to get on with it, Seth Enslow hits the ramp.
Yeah, first jump of the night, it's like 255 feet. Can't complain. A few years ago, that was the record, so.
That's good.
In 05, that was the record. My show would have been over. First jump of the night.
With less than 48 hours to go, the Americans are still chasing Robbie Madison's mark. And even though Seth Enslow jumps further than he's ever done before, there's still a huge gap of 70 plus feet separating the riders.
That's good. Oh, good. I'd rather land a little bit higher up on the landing though. Like, the farther you go down, the harder that landing is.
Now Seth's back in the game and he's going for it and he's real serious about this time.
So will Ryan Capes chase Robbie's record tonight?
I thought about it, but then that would just make Matto want to come back here tomorrow and jump farther. So I probably will jump less, make him think like he's a man, and then burst his bubble on the night.
Madison has been playing a high-stakes psychological game all week. Now this is Capes' chance to close the huge gap Robbie has on him. But Capes doesn't want to show his hand just yet.
271, 271.
I'm pretty happy with it. Like, there's no reason to like Matto was landing way down there. I don't want to abuse my body until I'm ready for that last one, you know?
Although Robbie's jumped the furthest, he's yet to hit the ramp at night. Meanwhile, Capes knows the variables that nighttime jumping can throw at the riders, and appears to think this will play a major role on event night. Ryan Capes is a competitor. He knows it will come down to one jump on the night, and he's more than capable of going the distance. The morning of the final day before the event, conditions are the best they've been all week, and Capes has come out early to close the gap on his opponent, Robbie Madison.
Feeling comfortable during the day, and then tonight I'll get the ramp gap hopefully around 320, 340, and bust out 380, 400, so Matto has nothing.
Capes is putting on a brave face, but will his strategy of waiting till the final hour to show what he's got work? Either way, Ryan Capes still felt comfortable to share his thoughts on how he makes his bike fly.
At the end of the runway, when I turn around and come at that ramp, I take a look at that ramp, pray one more time, and grab my gears and get the speed that I need to, look at my radar box, and get into a tuck where the wind, I'm foiling the wind behind me, so I get in an attack position where I'm over the bike and the handlebars, and I preload as hard as I can and jump into the ramp and make sure I pin it off the ramp. And then at that point, the rest is just a ride till you peak out. It's what you call flying the bike, and the gas brings the front end up because of the gyro of the rear wheel, and the brake brings the front end down, and you sort of do it a couple times. Like on big jumps, I'll do it 3 or 4 times, and that's called flying the bike. Right before impact, I brace and pin the bike as fast as it can go to take more of the cushion out of the landing and accelerate through the landing.
With time fast running out, and with the wind remaining stubbornly strong, Ryan sets the gap at 260 feet and attempts the 300-foot barrier, falling only marginally short.
We might want to wait a little bit because it's a complete side wind.
Yeah.
If I had a tailwind, I'd hit it no
it's
problem.
like a kite in the wind. It just, it don't matter.
All right, let's hold off for. Hey guys, we're gonna hold off a little bit and see what the wind does because I drifted pretty hard.
But once again, Ryan believes the wind conditions are too dangerous and calls it a day with his best jump at 296 feet. Robbie Madison continues to see things differently.
If the weather's touch and go and there's a bit of wind here and there, I mean, it's up to all of us to make the decision on whether we want to jump or not. And for me, I mean, if the wind's up, I'll probably still jump.
For the first time ever, Robbie and Ryan come face to face, and Robbie didn't hold back.
It's going to get heated Saturday night for sure. It's definitely it's going to be a jump off. That's what this event is, and that's what's going to happen.
That's what the people want to see. I personally, Robbie, between you and me, I think that we should go tell them to build this thing up.
I'm happy with it. It could be bigger and a smoother landing, but it's adequate.
Let's tell them to make it bigger.
It's going to work. Well, you gave them the landing dimensions. I gave them my landing dimensions. They're like, no, we already agreed to build it the way Ryan wants it. So this is all on your back, buddy.
Well,
it's up to me. This landing would be perfect.
Well, let's go tell them.
Just jump with your shit landing and out jump you. Why don't we just get some jumps in, practice today, get it out a bit further, and then worry about it once it really matters, rather than wasting time now. And it's good.
With Capes headed for the dressing room, Robbie Madison decides to continue with his death-defying psychological strategy, appearing completely comfortable and fearless in the dangerous conditions.
Can you believe it? No other rider in the world would go out on the day before the event with 346 feet already under his belt, in winds of 30 to 40k, and attempt to jump further. It's absolutely crazy. And I guess Robbie's trying to dismantle his opposition mentally.
With the wind still blowing strongly from behind, anything is possible. And Robbie sets the ramp at a 300-foot gap, extending his unofficial world record mark even further. Surely, enough is enough.
356 and 5 inches confirmed.
New world record, baby!
Incredibly, Robbie pulls the ramp back a staggering 40 feet to the longest gap in history. His confidence is so high, he's courting disaster. Those handful of people, lucky enough to be there to see what happened next, would witness one of the most incredible moments in extreme sports history. Distance jumping is about skill, blind courage, and the concentrated power of will. Robbie hits a speed of 170 kilometers an hour, traveling at more than 100 feet per second, 70 feet in the air, with dangerous tailwinds capable of causing a catastrophic accident. Robbie lands unbelievably hard, but travels an extraordinary 378 feet.
I'm stoked, man. That was a hard landing. You know, I'm coming over, kind of starting to see what this ramp's really got for me.
Robbie's jump was an unbelievable 100 feet further than the world record mark set in 2005. Promoters could hardly believe what they had just seen. Neither could Ryan Capes.
Ryan and Seth's ramp was set up before and they chose not to jump, so I said, well, if you guys aren't going to jump, let me jump, because I'm taking this serious. I'm not going to sit around all day to psych myself out. I'd rather just go out there and jump, and it's out there, so I'm happy.
Meanwhile, Capes decides to stay with this strategy, but his confidence is clearly waning with every Madison jump.
I'm going to stick with what I planned on doing originally, so it's one of those things that we're just going to have to wait and see.
Hoping for better conditions later in the day, Ryan and Seth have chosen to wait until dark to jump in conditions that will be closest to event night.
I reassure myself that I'm the best in the world at what I'm doing, and plus I have God on my side. I have faith, and it's a good thing.
As night falls, conditions have deteriorated dramatically, and Seth and Ryan have lost their last chance to hit the ramp before the big event. Tomorrow, each rider's practice strategy will be tested as they go head-to-head in an adrenaline-fueled battle of the best. As the Melbourne Raceway gates open and the 30,000 fans start to roll in, the bad weather appears to have broken for the time being. All the riders can do is wait and hope the conditions remain favorable. Overnight, the most significant event issue has been resolved, with Ryan Capes amazingly giving up his position as last jumper to Robbie Madison, conceding a massive advantage to his opponent. In Robbie's eyes, this is tantamount to admitting defeat before the event has even begun. Robbie now believes his psychological strategy has proven astonishingly successful.
The whole event order was I was meant to jump second, Capes was meant to go third, so he thought I would go out and jump a certain distance and he could just beat it and he'd walk away with the record. But then he saw in practice that I was just going to go out and jump as far as I could possibly go, which I've been saying all week. And now he knows he can't compete with me, so he wants to go second now, so he doesn't look like a fool, and I'm going last.
I've had a good talk to Robbie and said, you know, you've pretty well got what you wanted now. You know, I'm just urging him to take it easy. And with 30,000 people cheering him on, it's a recipe for major danger out here. So I've urged him to obviously go out, break the world record, do what no man has ever done before. But there's no reason to go completely stupid with this thing. And basically he told me to piss off. So, Robbie, expect anything.
It's like we could sit here and riddle each other back and forth and talk about how far we're going to jump, and at the end of the night it could be thundering and lightning and windy and we're not even jumping.
Some rain around right now, but it is forecasted to clear this afternoon and the wind to switch around behind them, which if that happens it's actually perfect conditions, but it's still very, very dodgy for us, so it's a major concern.
As the rain comes pouring down, the event looks doubtful to go ahead. It's the worst conditions we've seen all week, and event organizers are losing hope. The weather finally starts to clear. The track is still too wet to jump, but having successfully jumped 108 feet in practice, Bubba decides he's the man to get the show back on track and heads out to the landing ramp.
Together for Bubba! All right, Bubba, tell you what, we're about to send you out, but let's get a bit of an estimate. What are you aiming for here to set a fat man world record?
Well, I wouldn't be a man if I didn't go for 100.
Oh, he's going for 100. What do you say, Melbourne? Put your hands together for Bubba!
Bubba has always been the funny man of the Crusty Demons, and the Fat Man record was supposed to be a bit of fun. But with the wet conditions, Bubba doesn't see the speedometer and approaches the ramp at almost twice his intended speed.
First thing, you don't want no accidents, no crashes. I mean, God forbid, please. Or any of the people that are jumping that night, you know, all the different world records that we have, including myself. We just want it to be safe, you know, because everyone does film, we get a bond, you know. We've been on tour with the Crusty tour with some of these kids, you know what I mean? As Bubba is wheeled off to hospital, the second record attempt also ends in disaster when Brent Brady breaks his leg on landing, making it 2 from 2 casualties. And it's looking like a dangerous night ahead.
to the next level. Beating Mike Metzger's long-standing record, he flips an incredible 129 feet 7 inches. And to top things off in true Crusty Demon style, he comes back and does it with a truck. The Crusty Demons turn it on with the first ever 115-foot ramp-to-dirt freestyle show ever performed with the best riders in the world: Nate Adams, Adam Jones, Mike Mason, Blake Bilbo Williams, and more. The beautiful Crusty Babes. A huge pyrotechnic show. The 30,000-strong crowd loved every minute. Topping it off with their legendary whip trains and backflip chains. Finally, it was time for the most death-defying jump-off in extreme sports history.
So Melbourne, get ready, because we are about to attempt to break the world long-distance record.
The three greatest daredevils on the planet, Seth Enslow, Ryan Capes, and Robbie Madison, head-to-head. The mammoth crowd was eerily quiet. The rules are simple. 4 jumps, 2 ramp movements, but the conditions are far from ideal. The rain has stopped, but the track is wet and slow. The strong tailwind that blew all week has been replaced by a slight headwind. Totally different conditions to what Robbie has experienced all week. Could this bring Capes back into the equation? First up is Seth Enslow.
The nerves are there for all of it, you know. You're going and it's all good, but like you just got to keep that confidence up.
Seth jumps 287 feet, further than he ever has in his 15-year career. But he needs another 13 feet to achieve his life's ambition of 300 feet. He has 1 jump remaining to nail it.
I'm stoked for him. Really want to see Seth come here and break the 300 mark, and I'm hoping he did it on this last jump. Good form. 4 feet to his 100. Give him one more.
For me to clear 300 feet has been a goal for a long time of mine personally, so that's what I'm out here to do.
Seth falls an agonizing 4 feet short at 296 feet. But Robbie checks with Capes, and in a great display of sportsmanship, they ask promoters to give Seth one more shot. The promoters agree.
they told me I couldn't jump anymore, and I was like, I'm jumping till I cross 300 feet. You guys aren't stopping me. Get the out of the way. Yeah. I've told Australia for years that when I do jump 300 feet, it'll be here. I'm a man of my word, so I like to keep it that way, and it all goes through.
Ryan has talked the talk all week, not wavering from his strategy of leaving it all to the big night. Now it's time.
Ladies and gentlemen, right now we are going to continue. Heavy hitter number 2. Put your hands together for Ryan Capes.
You got to turn everything off at the end of the day, because a distance jumper, if he wrecks it over 300 feet, it's weeks in the hospital and a long recovery. So there's more consequences to distance jumping.
Ryan has 4 jumps, but sets the ramp on his first jump at a staggering 300-foot gap, way further than any he's jumped in practice. Meaning, if he lands, he'll break Robbie's 322-foot 7 inches world record on his first attempt. But it's an enormous risk.
You're training your brain to slow down, so it seems like it's a lot longer than it really is, and that's you know, a lot of sports people will say that, you know, it's a brain trick to do.
At this point, I broke the record. I'm happy with it. I'm passing over to my buddy Robbie Madison, the Australian favorite. Good luck, Robbie. Get it done.
Capes officially breaks the world record on his first attempt, and then, much to everyone's surprise, calls it a day. Robbie now believes nothing can stop him after jumping 378 feet in practice. It would seem he has the record at his mercy.
Is he over? Is he over?
But conditions are now totally different. Instead of a strong tailwind, there's a headwind. The track is wet, slow, and dangerous. Perhaps Capes' one-off world record jump will be a tougher nut to crack than Robbie thinks.
I can't believe it, Melbourne. We're finally here. Thank you guys for coming out here and braving the weather, sitting in the rain. It means a lot to me. I respect all of you guys. You paid your money, you're here, and now we're going to do this. I'm going to jump my motorcycle as far as I can. I've been saying it for a long time. You're about to witness it.
Well, how about it, ladies and gentlemen? Boys and girls, put your hands together. Robbie Madison!
Robbie Madison's attitude all week has been bordering on reckless, and tonight is no exception.
378, baby.
Robbie has not jumped at night, and has not jumped with a headwind, but instead of testing conditions with a safe first jump, Robbie sets the ramp at a 320-foot gap, 20 feet further than Capes. A massive, unnecessary gamble with 4 jumps up his sleeve.
A lot of people here want to see it happen, and if I think that it's safe enough to jump, I'll jump.
With his home crowd egging him on, all he has to do is land in the sweet spot, and he's won the title.
rode 5th all the way into the ramp, and last split second I thought, oh, I've held on to 5th too long, I'm going to overshoot. And so right as I went off the ramp, I chopped the throttle, and it just shortened my jump by a long way, and I'm flying through the air coming at this landing ramp knowing that I wasn't going to make it.
This is the first time Madison has jumped at night. The cold weather and headwind has played havoc with his bike speed, and he's come up dramatically short, landing only inches from the front of the lander on the flat safety deck, almost being catapulted to a disastrous accident.
Luckily for my riding a dirt bike my whole life, I just subconsciously went into panic mode and did the right thing.
He's okay. He's fine. He's fine. He knows that he needs to go a little faster. He'll make that, change it. He's good.
Yeah. He was 4 feet before the... Not quite to the safety.
Yeah. That's got to scare the shit out of him.
It seems Ryan Capes' nighttime training has paid off. Madison returns for his second take at the ramp, gambling on his bike to get him the speed required to beat Capes.
98. Faster. Bike's not going as fast as it was the other night. Stick it, Robbie. Come on, man, just stick it.
Smashing the old mark by over 16 feet in front of his adoring fans, using all his skill to control a very heavy front wheel-up landing. He has done what he set out to do and lived to tell the tale.
That one was a close call. I've never done that before. I hit the brake and tried to set it up, and the bike just didn't fly the way I expected it to. So I'm going to do it again, just make sure I got it right for next time.
Robbie has broken the record. It would seem there's no need to jump again. No sane human would take this unnecessary risk, particularly after his first 2 attempts were so close to disaster. His family are in disbelief, and 30,000 fans are in shock. He doesn't need to jump again.
I just don't know why he has to go again. It's really silly stuff. He's got the record, he's alive. For the sake of his family, this is just ludicrous.
I just know that he's just a crazy individual, and he's got a lot of pride too. So sometimes that mixture is dangerous, but we wish for the best.
I told the whole of Australia, I've been on a lot of media saying that I'm going to jump my dirt bike as far as it can possibly take me, and I'm a man of my word. But we're here in Australia, and Australia wants to see balls to the wall, a big bad jump, and that's what they're going to see tonight.
Robbie's a loose cannon. You never know what he's going to do.
Only one person amongst 30,000 who thought this was a good idea. Robbie Madison, who was hell-bent on proving he's the best ever at any cost. Proved he was right, smashing the world record again in the most perfectly controlled flight and masterful two-wheeled landing in distance jumping history. is simply perfection.
That first one was nearly all over for me. I was like coming down thinking, oh shit, I'm gonna die right now, and then made it. And then the second one I tried to overcompensate for it, so I pre-jump lifted the bike as I went up the ramp, and I left it hang too long, and when I hit the back brake, it didn't bring the bike back enough and nearly lost the back of it, so I had to do that last one just to feel better about it, you know, and I'm stoked I got a world record out of it.
They both just really want it, and they both, you know, are talking about jumping 400 feet, so we'll see what happens.
Robbie Madison, the world's greatest distance jumper. Evel Knievel would have been proud.